A week just went by. We got the weekly close. Bitcoin shows you one, and Ether shows you another side to watch. Here, when you do look at Ether and then take XRP and compare it, there's a huge difference. What is that difference? Is that positive? Is that negative? What are we really looking at? Is the entire altcoin market looking good, or is the view negative? Bitcoin dominance does show you something, and that's kind of clear here. Is that positive or negative? We're going to break those down here now. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where the normal retail guys get to learn how to become the next top 10% of this world. Let's look at the reality here. This particular candle, the weekly, which just got closed, shows you this clearly. The volume factor, we had almost like 70-80% of selling volume compared to the last week. But sellers failed to close that 70 to 80% in the size. So this clearly shows sellers are weak in Bitcoin, in Ether. We're getting similar sense. So Ether kind of clearly gives you the idea that it was just a doji. Sellers failed to push the price down and keep it down. Now we go look at Bitcoin. Similar. 90% of the selling volume compared to the previous weekly candle, but the price barely showed you the downside there. It's also a doji, which in my eyes is turning bullish. So I will not be surprised if Bitcoin, if Ether bounces back higher from this level of support. I will not be surprised there. We were watching this last time. We had the dominance on the selling side here, but they failed to push it down. Then we saw a bit more in buying volume, and that kind of showed up in buying volume, which was good. And the trend continued. Now look at XRP in that sense. It is true that we got a bullish week. It is true that we got volume in green for that week. But what do you make of it? I mean, if you have a different thought process in your mind right now, let me know in the comment section below. If there is something which I'm missing, let's look at that too. But here is what I think about this. We had like 70% volume compared to the previous week. The last week, that was hell. It dropped all the way from 0.63, touched like 0.43 and closed at 0.5. Whereas this most recent weekly candle close shows you, even though you had 70% volume in buy, you didn't get 70% in the price action. That's not heavily bullish. Or buyers are weak. And I'm thinking like, okay, usually first week of the month, yeah, the supply comes in, we are not strong. The buyers, they're not strong. It's the sellers who are dominating the market. Right now, it's like the 21st of the month. And you still have sellers very active in this asset at the support, a macro support. So I wouldn't be surprised if the price come back down to 0.49, 0.48, retest this range before it bounces. So Bitcoin shows you it's going to go up, Ether shows you it's going to go up, and XRP shows it needs more time, or it's going to come back down to test the support. Now, that's all on a weekly. We come here on a daily. We want to see, okay, that's like 1 week of things. But what exactly are we doing here? If you're a price structure guy, you would say, okay, we dropped heavy. We just had this. ABC, is it that? Or are we going to reverse back up? This one candle is still active. So momentum and the direction has not changed. Now look at the volume. You had comparatively 70% volume to the last one, but you didn't get a lot to the downside. You got kind of a doji, which shows okay, sellers are weak there. That's okay, we understand that. But the price kind of failed to break through this, and the micro candle remains this. So if it becomes choppy before it retests this range, that's okay. But again, that's a daily chart narrative for XRP. Now we come on to a 3-day chart. You're like, okay, next 2-3 days, maybe it's not that positive. Fine. You're looking at like, okay, maybe next 2-3 candle on a 3-day chart, next 10 days. How would that pan out? And that's where it shows like, okay, you had 70% volume compared to the previous one, and it got bullish engulfing candle. That's good. So next 10 days gives you optimism. So we may come back down to test this level. This is 0.587 or say close to 0.58 or 0.59 range. But the trouble comes in when you actually enter the monthly. I mean, I really don't like it, being honest. I really don't like it. Last time, just like you saw, we had a little bit of selling volume, but the price actually came massively down, which showed sellers are active or buyers are not strong. And that's one of the reasons why you did not get a breakthrough to the upside when the buyers came back in, because they were not strong. Here we are. We got like 50% of selling volume, and we've kind of erased last 2 selling candles, like last 2 monthly candles. That as of now does not look good. Now we would like to see this price coming back up in next 10 days towards 0.58, 0.59 and closing here as a long wick. I would love to see that. Honestly, I would love to see that. If that happens, things change, and that's really good for XRP over next month. Now we take a monthly candle and jump on here, Ether. On a monthly, it shows you again the same stuff. Sellers are dominating the market. They're active here in the market. Whereas in the last one, when we talked about this, there was a little bit difference. You had a lot more selling volume involved, but not a lot more selling in the price action. That showed buyers were strong. Here, if you reach this range, you can see sellers very strong. But that did not push the price down to the next leg. It just stayed there for like a couple of months before it actually took off for the next leg from 280 to 480. That's a good range. That's a good run up. It's not bad. But the trouble was you stayed there for 2 months. And right now on a monthly, it does show you you're slow. Unless this month comes up and closes here close to 3,300, 3,500. That's a big possibility too. You cannot neglect that, because the weekly says next 1 week is going to be good. Next couple of weekly candles can be positive, which at that point means you're bouncing back to the upside. You're reaching that range which you want to see on the monthly candle. Now, yes, you're looking at all this for all of these assets, asking the same question to yourself: which direction are we going? Do we see a lot of positive action coming in? And that's where some news, the current affairs, make some sense. Benjamin Cohen actually posted this: Bitcoin transaction fees. Something looks fishy. 2018, when that peaked, you were near the top, or just a little bit close to the top. 2021, when that happened, you were making the first top. Right now, it's showing you it's through the skies. Either the amount of transaction happening should be way more in dollar terms, because this is, priced in dollar. Dollar is devaluing for sure. Even if we factor that in, it shouldn't look like this. This is something better, or supposed to be better than the banking system. Here we have the blockchain cutting fees like 80 million. And that's too much of fees, right? So that kind of a narrative, when you take it back to the market, say the total altcoin market, whether you take total 3 or total 2, it doesn't make much of a difference. Here you literally have buying happening here, 90%. Still, the price action is just a doji. Sellers are still active in the altcoin market. Not every asset is showing you that. Agreed. You can randomly go into multiple different assets in the same market and look through them. What they show on a weekly, what they show on a 3-day, and 3 days where you kind of get to see the large cap assets starting to turn very much positive. Now, you can be in the payment segment, you can look at the different segment. It's all up to you. It's completely fine. But you still get the same perspective almost on one segment of the market. It is when you go to the small cap where you see this. You had volume, but you did not get that amount of selling. And you're at a support, which makes sense. You go on a 3-day chart, it makes more sense. You go on a daily chart, it makes much, much more sense. You're testing that support and you're trying to bounce off, which means small cap assets trying to pull something off, but now the large caps. So if the altcoin market moves up, it won't be because of the large caps doing wonderful moves. It would be most likely because small caps. And one of the primary reasons here is the dominance. The Bitcoin dominance still shows you that direction, which is to the upside. It's not completely reversing to the downside. It's not completely slowing down. We would love to see that. But what if this is just an ABC move here? If you go up, get rejected, great, perfect. But as of now, you're not doing that, right? So you need to stay focused on the market. The market is right now demanding more discipline and a lot more patience as of now, because the market initially was showing you it was about to run higher quicker. Quicker. And here we got slowed down. So historically speaking, when you enter to the upside on a monthly, you start seeing parabolic moves. Here you almost tried to do that, but then immediately got rejected. Macro narratives, macroeconomics, geopolitical tensions, everything prices in, at least for the short term. Remember, short term, the market is a voting machine. People vote with the emotions. Long term, it's a weighing machine. The strength of the projects does matter, but again, that's long term. If your horizon is much smaller, then that's a trouble for you, for all of us. If you guys think you need to go through a lot more assets, we're doing that right now in the SI family with 1,000+ members actively taking benefits of whatever I post in their live. If you want to take benefit of that, use the link in the description below. You can reach me, go through your portfolio through a one-on-one session, discuss through what I think about the asset allocation, about your risk balance, about your tolerance, and everything. So guys, if you received value for your time and you haven't smashed that like button, I would request hit that. Why would you just slow it down, right? Obliterate that button. I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye for now.